Grace Cathedral was a pretty important project for me. Um, Back when I was just starting in audio in the late 50s and early 60s, my dear friend Don Alley and I, growing up in Sacramento, and with a shared interest in pipe organ music, we used to talk about this mythical place, Grace Cathedral, that had this huge pipe organ and cavernous acoustics, and it was in San Francisco. And one day, I was fortunate enough to acquire a couple of recordings on the Hi-Fi record label. This was a small record company, and these albums were volumes 1 and 2 of a Richard Purvis organ recital in Grace Cathedral. Not having the money to buy the stereo version, which was $1 more per record, I have 2 copies of the monaural version. And the Hi-Fi record label and the Audio Fidelity First Component series albums were very influential to me because they had very complete technical liner notes that described the microphones that are used and the acoustics and even the type of tape that was used and all that. Some of the Audio Fidelity First Component series actually said that because the record levels are so high and the dynamic range is so high on this album, that only a few cartridges can track it. And they would actually list the models of cartridges that they found could track those records. I thought that was very cool. So I actually, the first full concert that I went to at Grace Cathedral was of organist Jim Welch performing there. I never went to a concert where Richard Purvis, the organist at Grace Cathedral, during that, during the 50s and the 60s, I never went to one of his concerts. We went there once when he was practicing, but not having my own car or anything like that, and San Francisco was a long way away, 100 miles. So anyway, so now we arrive in the late 70s, and I find myself being approached by Grace Cathedral, the very wonderful organist there, John Fenstermaker, to record an album for them. And so we began experimenting with microphone placements, and I had been using those AKG 414 microphones up to that point, and had more recently acquired a pair of lovely sounding Schoeps microphones, again from Bill Feil. And so Grace Cathedral was very, very generous and allowed us to come in and experiment after hours. We were there many times till quite late at night, and learned a lot about the sound of big acoustics. Now, this hall has a reverberation time of over 6 seconds, and that's one of the things that this album captures very nicely. At the ends of pieces in particular, but even during the middle of a piece where it's quiet, even pianissimo music will excite the acoustics in that room. And the room has a beautiful color to it in the sound, the reflected sound. The Schoeps microphones were chosen from this from the experiments that we did, and were used instead of the AKG microphones. By this time, the The speakers that I was using were still the modified Dahlquist DQ10s, but now with RTR electrostatic panels used. So that was evolving. That modified speaker system was evolving in the direction that would eventually become the WAM loudspeaker. The architecture of this building follows the norm for an Anglican, Roman Catholic, or Orthodox cathedral, in that it's the building is shaped like a cross. The part of the building, the head of it, that is above the transept, the cross area, has the apse, and then also the along the side walls is where the main organ pipes are located from the original pipe organ, which is an Aeolian Skinner designed by G. Donald Harrison. Those pipes, when they are playing, don't create a center fill. And so if you're accustomed to all the music that you listen to in your systems creating a nice comforting center fill all the time, this won't happen. But there is another additional set of pipes, the bombard section, which was built by the Causavant company in Canada and installed in 1972. Those are on the back wall, the liturgical east wall of this building. And so when the bombard pipes speak, they're coming from dead center, and you'll hear that. They have a different character of sound, not only because of their musical significance, but also the characteristic voicing of the G. Donald Harrison design compared to a Causavant design. So when the music is generally quieter, or at even at mezzo levels, you'll hear this warmer tonality of the G. Donald Harrison organ, and then at fortissimo levels, this bombard section will come in. And it's designed to really speak forth down the length of this cathedral, which is over 300 feet long. And that quality of sound is picked up very well on this recording.